Hey, ladies and gentlemen. So nickels have long been been one of those very reliable, I'll be honest with you. It's a very deep series that predominantly is charged in the marketplace by step designation. All right, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you with the registry set advancements out there for a lot of these popular series like Jefferson Nichols. We have seen quite a bit of money fly around this particular series. There's a number of dates that are true targets for those that really want the best of the best, and then sometimes they're just not that easy to come across, to the point where if one does enter the marketplace, a lot of the big dollar signs that you see here for instance, this 51S or the 51P that you see here in Mid-State 67, and of course it says full steps right here as well on this line. Oftentimes that these coins, when they enter the marketplace, they will actually sell for a lot more money than what is actually visually noted, either in a paper price guide or on PCGS's website. Is that necessarily good or bad for the hobby? Well, it certainly illustrates the strength of this particular type of collecting. However, 1950s Jefferson Nichols has always been kind of the proverbial pain in the ass, so to speak, for a lot of registry set collectors, because it is a date range, a decade that has been long plagued with a myriad of mint quality issues. And that's the big reason why that a number of the dates that you see in here, like check out this 52S. Yeah, good luck finding a Mint State 67 full steps anytime soon. And that's the big reason why that a lot of the big dollar values are accented from some of these dates. And as deep a pockets as most of these registry set collectors have, at the end of the day, do they want to spend, say, $40,000 for a 53S full stepper in 66? Because it says $28,000. There's always been this big deviation from price guide values to what real world value is, right? Like up to the minute stuff that we see pop up on the occasional Long Beach sale on Heritage Auctions, or maybe Great Collections has a piece that sells. And it sells for a very, very healthy number above and beyond what is on PCGS's price guide. So these are just a few of the things that the registry set community has kind of had to contend with, all right? As elite of a group of people that these are, okay? There's no understating the importance of some of these coins. What it's identified is rarity amongst just regular run-of-the-mill, dates of coins. Like, I could consider every single coin within the 50s. Probably I'll even throw in the 50D in there, even though it's a lot less minted particular date. And, as of right now, people still call it the key date of the Jefferson Nichols series. But when you look at each individual date, even the 54S that you see here, that at the highest grade level is $40,000, every single one of these dates is very accessible, okay? And then secondly, they're very accessible in mid-state condition without any guarantees of the strike. You could go at any given time to a local coin shop. You could go ahead and bounce on to eBay or some other coin shop e-commerce platform and find a lot of these coins raw, ungraded, for $1 or $2. And every single one of these, highlights a hidden rarity in an otherwise very deep open pool of high minted dates. It identifies a rarity that most people just don't see. And especially for a lot of the beginning numismatic collectors out there, obviously Jefferson Nichols and Lincoln Cents has been kind of like the top 2 series to collect as a new person coming into the hobby. They won't know that a 55D in the 66 full steps that you see here is $10,000, right? I mean, that just doesn't happen, on day one. That's something that you begin to learn. And I think where you learn it is when you begin to kind of identify grading as a large part to your collecting. Once you begin to find that out, once you begin to find and utilize the PCGS price guide, the PCGS pop report charts, you're going to get a very deeper sense of how deep and weird this pool of money is for this particular series, and most specifically for this decade. But I wanted to point that out. I mean, we're seeing quite a few up arrows for a lot of the dates, a lot of the kind of like very scarce dates, not necessarily at the highest grade level, like a 61. I mean, who would have thought that $35,000 would be a fair price tag to assign to this coin? Nobody, right? It just seems just way out in left field. Like, there's no way you could get $35,000 for a 1961 Jefferson nickel that was minted into the hundreds of millions. So that's part one of this. The second thing is, with all of the attention on registry sets and things like that, once these newer collectors kind of move up and they went from being a novice to something like an intermediate collector, where they begin to understand the Sheldon grade of the Sheldon scale of grading, then there are certain things that kind of fall through the cracks. They begin to forget about some of the things that maybe they should be looking for at the very beginning, but in a sense, those type of things have dropped off from their memory bank, and then that's it. And what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about some of the varieties that you could find in not only the 50s and 60s of Jefferson nickels. So when you're on the PCGS price guide, okay, you could just go ahead and scan on down the left side here all the dates. All right, not paying really attention to full steps and mid-state. Okay, in this particular instance, we're going to kind of treat both of them the same. Okay, kind of like a even level playing field. So you're going to come across certain dates that have a little plus designation. Okay, they got a little plus in the box. You can press on that, and it's going to open up another row where it's going to tell you that there's a specific variety that exists with an FS assigned catalog number for that particular variety, which simply means it's recognized in the cherry pickers guide, and the big graders like PCGS and NGC recognizes this, and they put it in as a designated type of coin in their price guide. Let alone, that's how they grade them on the label. They have it printed on there, like this 53D, D over D. RPM is one of the seldom known ones. Not everybody actually looks for this, but it's a D over inverted D. The inverted repunchment mark style of variety has always been popular, but the 53D over D has been a coin that people have forgotten in lieu of trying to find specific dates and full steps. But if you take a look at just the raw kind of like valuation of some of these coins, if you're able to find and identify and correctly attribute some of these varieties, you could see that they have a little bit of extra value assigned to it in just regular mid-state grades above and beyond what a non-variety would go for. Okay, hopefully you guys are still following me. So at some of the highest levels, I mean, why not take $300-400 for this coin if you could find it, and treat it as kind of like a bonus ball. Okay, if you're the type that is truly interested in finding high-end registry style pieces, you're actually actively going out into the marketplace, you're driving to your LCS, and you're looking for full BU rolls of some of these 50s Jefferson nickels, which, by the way, there's still quite a few of them out there, and you could get them relatively affordable, somewhere, between like $5 to $20 on certain dates. You could certainly kind of fill in the just really ridiculous gap between what a standard just regular mint state coin is, which is worth a few bucks, to one that if you're able to identify a full steps, you could realize some big potential. But there's such a big gap in between there that people could really realistically try and aim for some of the marquee varieties. Now, there are a number of really nice cherry picker's guide varieties within the 1950s Jefferson nickels. Okay, number one. Number two, there is another deeper, larger pool of double dies, repunch mint marks that aren't recognized as with FS numbers that you could also find. There's going to be those Wexler varieties. There's the Brian Rybar varieties that are out there. You just have to go on websites like doubletodie.com, Variety Vista, a few of these sites, and go ahead and check out some of the other ones. And then you could kind of deepen the potential, the deeper pool of possibilities out there, because there's going to be coins that, maybe it's not necessarily the cherry picker's guide, maybe it's not the full steps example where you can make some money off of this, but maybe some of the lesser known double to dies or probably some of the lesser known repunch mint marks you could capitalize on. Okay, why just take this $2 coin and accept it to be just $2 when you could take that variety, if you could correctly attribute it, sell it for $20, sell it for $25, realize and stretch out the full potential of what you can find. In case you haven't figured this out, this video is more kind of along the lines of the more advanced, okay? If you're brand new, checking this out for the first time, there's going to be a lot of jargon that you're not going to understand, and that's fine. That's stuff that develops over time. But when we look at some of these varieties, the D over D, inverted D, mint mark is one that I feel like is underappreciated because of the type of RPM it is. It's not like a standard RPM where it's like a primary or the secondary D is punched west of the primary, kind of like the standard RPMs that we see. But this one is a true 90-degree counter or clockwise rather inversion. Okay, and that was the initial first punch. The mint marks were punched by hand onto the working die. All right, so there's plenty of room for error, and that's why a lot of these repunch mint marks exist, especially during the 50s. So this one right here, if you guys want to look at it, I'll go ahead and click in it so that way you could see the close-up. By the way, PCGS's photo imagery is second to none. If you wanted to try your hand at grading and also trying your hand at identifying some of these varieties, you could use this tool and get in close to some of the information that's going to be important. Now, keep in mind, with a lot of varieties, you most certainly need a really good magnifier. If you don't have that, you might as well not even try doing this. But this is what people do to supplement the income, to supplement some of the other projects that they have regarding looking for strike designation coins that will reward thousands of dollars. But this is the type of thing that you would do to reward yourself with maybe hundreds of dollars by selling maybe half a dozen of these per month or more. But again, it really depends on the output, how much of these you look through. If you only look at maybe 1 or 2 rolls a month, then it's really not fully utilizing the potential. But you can see the secondary Denver mint mark is on there. You can see that little that nub right there on the left side of the primary Denver mint mark as being the serif that's been flipped around. So a really cool variety. Again, utilize the PCGS photos that's provided. They're generally very high quality. You're not going to find one that's subpar or pixelated or out of focus. So that's the first one. There's a number of them. Okay, there's a 54D RPM FS501. I mean, again, comparing the numbers, even if you did find one that's in a little bit lesser quantity, it might be worth sending out to, say, a company, like PCGS or NGC or Annex. Okay, depending on grade. The higher grade stuff I'd probably send off to PCGS, because if you're able to score a 65 or a 65 plus in a 54D over D RPM, that's going to be big money. All right, and people recognize PCGS as being the gold standard of the grading scene today. All right, I wouldn't trust anyone else when it comes to like super high grade coins. Here's also a 54S, which has two different varieties, mind you, a double die reverse FS801 and a S over S repunch mint mark. This one not particularly expensive, but again, would you step over a $20 bill to grab that $1 bill? Because I wouldn't. Just, laying it out there with the possibilities. You could turn coins like this for 20, 30 bucks. It's FS recognized number. I mean, if you guys want to see what this one looks like, it's not particularly crazy, but again, when you look at it, it's going to see that the secondary Denver mint mark is punched north of the primary, so you see doubled curve of the S that you see there. So again, that's in hindsight a little bit minor compared to some of the other varieties, but when you look at stuff like that, it's a very liquid type of coin, an asset altogether. Here's one of my favorites here. This is the one of the big over mint marks, the S over D, that can be found on the 54 date. I own a number of these, a lot in which that I have cherry picked out of pocket change and going through many, many rolls of nickels. I probably have maybe close to 10 of these in my collection. They're not all particularly high grades, but when you could take a coin that has a face value of 5 cents and then turn around and then sell it for $10, sell it for $15, that's the ticket. And then, you're working, obviously, because you're turning this into, either a side hustle or a supplemental income type of opportunity. Why not go all in, and then utilize and find everything that you possibly can. See the secondary or the Denver mint mark underneath the S. You can see the bottom portion of the D that's south of the S. I mean, that is cool. That is one of the strongest over mint marks that you will encounter in US coinage today. It is so blatantly obvious that is exactly what that is. And again, it would have to be a super high grade example for you to make hundreds of dollars. But as you can see, people have done just that. They've had coins graded mint state 65 that have sold for, the specified amounts you see here. But there's a mint state 66, only 4 of them graded. I know you guys can't see that, but it sold for $1,116 back in 2015. The market's gone up since then. How much do you think it could go for today? Kind of hard to say. These are NGC graded coins down here. So that's yet again another one to be on the lookout for. And there's a number of them during the 50s. There's another over mint mark, this time in 55. But holy smokes. Take a look at the values right here. $4,500 in mint state 66. Even has its own line. It's a FS501. This is probably the last one I'll show you a close-up on because this one is really cool. D over S. Even a close-up right here of that mint mark. You can see the top curl of the S right there. And then all sorts of stuff going on here. This one is easy to spot. I think I have 2 of these in my collection. They're probably AU condition. But, why stop there? My AU condition 55D over S, yeah, sure, it's worth about 20, 30 bucks. But once you get up into the higher echelon, going through some of those BU rolls, finding some of these, I mean, you're talking about many hundreds of dollars. You might even be able to untap $1,000 coin here and there. So, there's a couple of them for 1956. There's a quadruple die reverse. There's a triple die reverse. And just take a look at the prices. The prices are, they speak volumes because they are so much higher than what a standard coin would normally sell for. Here's a 58D. So here's another inverted. This one is very popular. Look at that, Mint State 65, which is a very obtainable grade if you're going through BU rolls to look for this coin. $1,500. But that doesn't say that. What happens if you find, like, say, a 65 plus or a Mint State 66 and you exceed the charting of the PCGS price guide? You could be talking about a $3,000 coin, maybe higher. Again, Jefferson nickels all across the board in some of the highest grades, whether they're regular coins or varieties, are being constantly scooped up by these whales. And when the whales have the money, and they are currently buying at all times of the year, even in times of economic uncertainty, because they're treating these assets as much as they do precious metals. They're just constantly pumping money into numismatics because it's more of a safe haven than just keeping the money in your bank, okay, while inflation is running rampant. So you certainly see a lot of the potential. If you guys are running and gunning just for full steps coins and that's it, you're making a huge mistake, because there's a lot of other things to take advantage of in this market. Varieties and errors have a niche all their own, but those collector bases are very dedicated, and believe it or not, surprisingly, they have money to spend. They will spend money on examples that look good, that fit their collection, and they're always upgrading. I want you guys to keep this in mind. This is not a new market trend or anything like that. But if you realize that you could capitalize on a few other different things while you're looking for some of those big trophies for registry set people, you're going to do just well. And you're going to find that you're going to make a lot more money doing it this way than you ever have. All right, so that's what I wanted to do. You know, there's a lot of green up arrows. There's a few down arrows in the mix as well. So keep that in mind. The market is the market. Whether it's going to go soft or go hard, it really doesn't matter. You know, there's a lot of money to be made here in Jefferson nickels, especially during the 50s. If you have a dealer, a coin dealer that's nearby that has like some of these rolls, go ahead and pounce. Go ahead and buy some of those rolls, because you can always sell the rolls with the coins loose in a tube for quite a bit of money on the secondary market. All right. It's about as pretty close to playing with house money as you could get. So that's why I wanted to talk about in this one, 1950s Jefferson nickels, and the prospect of finding some of these big coins is great, but there are other ways that you could fill in the gaps and make money while you're doing it. There's a lot of varieties that are highly attributable, that are easy to spot. Once you see one, you'll find a bunch of them. That's why I wanted to talk about today. Thank you guys again for tuning in on another great edition of the Blue Ridge Silverhound. You know what? I don't even know what I was saying, but I'm your host, Sean. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed today's content. Make sure you hit that bell icon for instant notification. If you don't do that, you're not going to get these in your watch list. But also check me out on good old TikTok at Blue Ridge Silverhound. I am also on there. I appreciate your guys' time. Good luck with the hunt. I wish you guys nothing but loads of success. And I would love to hear your big time scores and your stories. Do you have a feel good story you want to talk about in the hobby? Go ahead and post it below. But you guys take care. Happy hunting. I will see you on the next coin video. So long, y'all.